Hi everyone, Ben here to cover another WBC performance. We're coming from 2022. This is Taka from Japan. I really enjoyed the set. I think this set takes a lot of really cool risks and I'm excited to watch it.
Time. My name is Taka. I started competing in 2007. I used a blend of Arabica and Robusta. My roaster couldn't share any details on my coffees. It was normal back then. Over the years, Arabica took over, showcasing amazing flavors. Now, in the recent years, Robusta has begun to catch up, thanks to modern fermentation techniques. So, like I did in 2007, I'm going to serve you the blend of Arabica and Robusta. But this time, it's my choice to give you the best espresso possible. Taking the best of Robusta, the body, and the best of Arabica, the flavors. So, let's start with espresso.
This is a risky theme. I think if you went back 10 years or even 5 years, I don't think the acceptance from Robusta was enough that you could do this theme and even hope to make finals. I think it shows that the competition is always progressing, that the judges and the organizers are open-minded and open to new ideas. I also think it shows that the baristas are willing to take some really big risks. It also could play to the score sheet. It'll be interesting to watch, but Robusta does have heavier body. I also think, in my experience, I think acidity is something that hurts you more than bitterness sometimes. And we'll see if Taka has some ways to combat the bitterness that's often found in Robusta.
Please have a look at my card on your left. My Arabica is geisha variety from Finca Hartmann, Panama, natural anaerobic fermentation. The producer, Lativo Hartmann, has green and bronze tip geishas, giving clean floral and tropical fruit notes to the coffee. Today as orange blossom and pineapple. He applied 130 hours anaerobic fermentation and then dried in cheese, giving grape note to the coffee. Today it's red grape and white wine aftertaste. My Robusta is TR4 variety from Etan Cooperative in Vietnam, also a natural anaerobic fermentation. This variety at this farm grows at 1,000 meters above sea level, which is higher than any other farms in Vietnam. That's why the cherries ripen slower, developing great sugar contents, giving more sweetness, more body to the cup. Then the coffee was processed as anaerobic fermentation for 5 days, and then dried in cherries, removing the vegetal and tobacco flavors of Robusta. I'm dosing 19 grams of geisha, 1 gram of Robusta, extracting 40 grams out in 21 seconds. By having 1 gram of Robusta, it increases the body and enhances the texture. Once I serve you espresso, please evaluate the crema and wait for my instruction.
So 1 gram of Robusta might not sound like a lot, but I think it is. The coffees can often be quite intense, and I imagine it's giving him the body that he's hoping for. I think long-term, we don't really understand what's happening when you have blends because it's going to affect extraction as well. And you might extract different compounds. So I think often that little bit in a blend can make a huge impact on the cup. You can see that Taka is using a Weiss distribution technique. He's actually doing it by hand. He has that little tool to break up clumps. That's probably really going to help his extractions. Doing it by hand is harder because you have to be looking at things and adjusting it. But if you're really skilled at it, it is probably better than any of the ones that you just spin because you can actually see clumps and speak to them right away.
Don't drink yet. Please evaluate the crema. Wait for my instruction. Please evaluate the crema. Wait for my instruction. Please. Okay, your taste experience. Please write down. Medium sparkling citric acidity. Medium sweetness. Low bitterness. First sip. Pineapple. Orange. Second sip. Red grape. Orange blossom. Medium body. Smooth mouthfeel. And long-lasting aftertaste white wine, like Riesling. Please stir 3 times and go ahead. Please put the user spoon in the black glass. Enjoy.
So Taka does something here. This is me putting my own personal preferences on things. Many barista competitors will actually describe the level of sweetness, acidity, and bitterness. It is not in the score sheet. You don't have to. I often don't know what the judges really do with it. I think it maybe can show attention to detail, but it's not actually in the score sheet. And so often when I see competitors describing acidity, bitterness, and sweetness, it's kind of like you don't need to, so why are you doing it? I actually like it here because he has Robusta. And so again, this is a really risky set. He's putting Robusta in his blend and then he's calling low bitterness on his taste balance, which to me shows that he has really figured this out. It's a big confidence move. If this was me, I probably, again, wouldn't describe the sweetness, acidity, bitterness. They can figure it out. But I think that by Taka saying this has low bitterness, he is firmly planting the idea that to sort of think about Robusta in a new way.
Okay, so let's move on to a milk drink. I'm dosing 17 grams of geisha, 3 grams of robusta, extracting 40 grams out in 18 seconds. By having more robusta, it highlights the sweet flavors in the cup. Your taste experience. Please write down. Dark chocolate, dark cherry, hint of vanilla, and please enjoy buttery mouthfeel.
Pretty fast shots on this course, 40 grams out in 18 seconds. That flow rate to me probably is to make sure that there's no bitterness in the cup, especially as the Robusta has gone up. I think strategically it's a really good idea to have sort of those shorter or faster shots for milk course because you won't put as much bitterness into the cup. I think it's really smart. The flavor calls sound really good. I think here Taka calls a hint of vanilla. This is something that I do a lot too. I think typically you should just say the flavor note, especially now with the new rules on how flavors are scored. A hint is really tricky because you stand to lose a lot more, in my opinion, because if there's nothing there, you'll lose the points. If it's a dominant note of vanilla, you will also lose the points, or they'll say you described it wrong. If you just call the note, typically the judge is going to say whatever note you called first is your dominant note. So if you have a hint of something, just make sure it's right at the end of your calls, and then the judge is probably they're going to organize that for you. You could also say something like, I'm going to give you the flavors in order from their most dominant flavor to the least dominant flavor, something like that. To say hint kind of puts you, it's kind of a lose-lose situation here. But other than that, things taste or sound like they taste really good.
My Robusta TR4 was recognized as a variety back in 2006. Almost like me, as starting to compete as a barista. TR4 normally has big body, herbal note, and decent bitterness. Thanks to the anaerobic fermentation, this bitterness is rounded and now matches very well with my Arabica. My approach to blend is to roast Arabica and Robusta separately. For Arabica, I chose to emphasize the flavor by roasting short. For Robusta, I chose to emphasize the body by having longer roast. Thank you for waiting. Please enjoy. Please enjoy. Just a moment, please. I manage different solubility of each roast by having separate grinders. Fine setting for Arabica. Coarser setting for Robusta.
There you can hear using a coarser setting for the Robusta to lower the bitterness. You can see that Taka is pouring 2 cappuccinos and then serving them. Again, this is an interesting strategy because he set the first one down, so you're going to lose some sheen. But I think by serving them both at the same time, that's kind of nice. It gets the judges engaged. They can listen to you for a little bit longer, and then you put both of them down. It's definitely a strategic risk, though, because you are going to lose some points on the sheen. Something you can see here that is good for any barista is how Taka's set up his performance area. Is any part of the station he's at, except when he's steaming milk, he is looking at the judges just to make eye contact to see where they're at. This could be to see when he can start talking, but I think there's always nice moments if you can catch a judge's eye and smile at them. These are small things that I think do yield big results. So you can see his grinders are set up so that he's able to constantly look over where he's pouring his cappuccinos. This is another interesting strategy for the pouring 2 at once and then serving them, is that often when you pour all 4 and you give it out at each time, you're in front of the judge and you might get a moment with them, but sometimes you lose that moment because they're writing something down or scoring something, and then the other 3 judges are completely ignored. With this way, it's kind of more of like a community styled service where he's actually engaging with all 4 of them and then serving 2. So from that standpoint, it's actually kind of neat. I haven't really seen this before, and I think it's a cool strategy because it lets him engage with everyone at once rather than just that one-on-one, because the one-on-one is at the expense of the other 3.
Thank you for waiting. Please enjoy. Please enjoy. Okay, for my signature drink, I was inspired by Espresso Martini, a classic, amazing drink. I'm dosing 15 grams of geisha, 5 grams of robusta, extracting 36 grams out in 16 seconds. By having even more robusta, it boosts the flavors. Please have a look at cup. My first ingredient is herb distillation. This is rose petal, matching the floral note of my coffee. Cardamom seed, giving spicy kick to my coffee. And hops, highlighting the citric note of my coffee. I distillate them all together for 1 day. I add 40 grams of this distillation, so your first sip will be citric and botanical.
Great ingredients here. Hops is one that I really love. The bitterness can be tricky, but there's already bitterness coming from the Robusta. Hops are great because, like many other ingredients, they taste like other things. And so I'm interested to see what flavors he calls. Maybe later on he'll say what types of hops he's using, but you can find hops that taste like almost anything out there. And so I think they're a great signature drink ingredient. Also cardamom. Cardamom often has like quite a bit of citrusy flavors. I think it works really well with coffee, but again, this is something where you're using an ingredient that kind of tastes like something else, and I think it's really smart. We've seen most of the competitors in the finals do something like this, where one of their ingredients kind of doesn't, it's hard to describe other than using other flavor notes, and I think it's a really smart idea for a signature drink.
Today is grapefruit and juniper berry. My second ingredient is Japanese sugar. It's called kokuto, made by sugarcane juice that is cooked for a very long time. The intensity of this sugar matches well with the sweetness of my espresso. I made a syrup with kokuto sugar and water at a 1-to-1 ratio. I add 15 grams of kokuto syrup, so the sweetness of my espresso turns into tonka beans today. My last ingredient is coffee pack. I collected the coffee pack from my practices. Added water and koji, which is Japanese fungus. Then fermented in this sealed container for 2 weeks, just in the anaerobic condition, just like my coffee. It becomes a paste and offers rich umami. The red fruit note of my coffee, today as red grape, turns into blood orange. I add 0.5 gram of this into the drink. And here, my 4 shots of espressos.
So using espresso pucks is something we've seen before, but doing something really interesting, using koji to ferment it, I think it's really interesting. I love it when baristas bring part of their own culture to the set and the stage. I think koji is a fungus that's used a lot in Japan, and so I think it's really neat to sort of share that. I think especially nowadays that they're looking for ambassadors, they kind of want to know who you are, and so I think if there's something that's either personal, because Taka's also talked about like when he first started as a barista that he pulled Robusta and Arabica. I think those personal stories matter a lot more than they used to. I think people understand the value of them, and so to bring an ingredient that is sort of special to you, I think is really, really cool. You can see he called the red grape switching to blood orange. My guess is some of that citrus note is coming from the cardamom, which is a great example of how to use signature drink ingredients wisely where it does that little bit of shift. You can't really say where it came from, but it's super smart.
And I add stainless ice cubes and shake together to give some texture. Your espresso martini is served cold. And please enjoy in 2 sips. 2 sips. Your taste experience. Please write down. First sip. Grapefruits. Juniper berry. Second sip. Blood orange. Tonka beans. Your mouthfeel is round. Then becomes smooth. With long aftertaste, dark chocolate. Remind me of espresso martini. It's a great pleasure for me to have served a blend of Arabica and Robusta and espresso martini, like I did it my very first competition 15 years ago. And I'm also looking forward to the next 15 years to come as a barista. Please enjoy. ありがとうございました。Time.
Really cool set. I think there's some other things. I believe that Taka does some work with cocktails as well in Japan. So this signature drink, even though it is just an espresso martini, it is not just an espresso martini because this is sort of in his wheelhouse. You heard correctly. He's been competing since 2007. I think this is something also really special for someone to compete that long to make it to the world stage. I think this is a really important reminder that it can take a really long time to make it, but I am so happy to see that Taka stuck it out and continued to compete. I think the sets that are beautiful like this are ones where they challenge some of our preconceived notions without fully coming out and saying it. This is something that Taka believed in. He wanted to serve Robusta and Arabica together, but in terms of some of the sets year after year that maybe challenge what we believe and what we think, this is one of the big ones. To see Robusta make it so far for someone to actually study and understand it as well. It's not easy to just put Robusta in a blend and make it taste good. You can tell that he spent a lot of time in it, so he devoted time to it, which shows that it matters to him. But I like this idea of not having to come full out and say what issue you want to bring up. You just present what you believe and it comes out. And I think that this was one of the really powerful ones in 2022. I enjoyed watching it and I can't wait to see if Taka comes back. Hopefully not in 15 years, hopefully sooner than that.